I'm Mark Weiss. Welcome to Wisdom Applied.
Hi, we've come indoors for this issue of Wisdom Applied because I'd like to use the whiteboard to talk to you about the present convergence of a number of trends affecting your medical practice. First of all, for almost all specialties, certainly for the hospital-based specialties, we're seeing an increase in the desire of paraprofessionals to expand the scope of their privileges. A prime example of this is the push by CRNAs to be viewed as providers on par with anesthesiologists. So we have the paraprofessionals, just call that para. We also have tremendous competition, again, certainly at the hospital-based specialist level, but also in some office-based specialties from so-called national groups, many of which are simply staffing services masquerading as groups, but this is an entirely different level of competition than many practitioners are used to, especially when these national groups, or so-called national groups, compete with tremendously sophisticated business methods. So we have national groups. Well, at the same time, we have declining reimbursement in many areas, more pressure from payers, and certainly in the hospital-based arena, pressure from hospitals on groups to reduce or eliminate completely stipend support. So we'll put up money issues. Now, what this is doing for many groups is, and many individual physicians, is it's throwing them into fear, such that they are considering on a faster level, a greater level than ever before, the notion of hospital employment. And that ties in with another trend, which is so-called physician alignment. And that, of course, includes models such as the ACO and vehicles which are really equivalent to the old PHO or physician hospital organization trend of the late 1980s and early 1990s. The problem with hospital employment as the solution to money pressures, paraprofessional pressures, and pressure from national groups is that while independent groups can set compensation at true fair market value, what the market requires they pay to an employed physician or a subcontracted physician, the hospitals, as employers through alignment, are governed by a number of compliance issues that require that they use healthcare fair market valuation models to govern compensation. And as you may be familiar from the other videos on the site as well as articles on the site, there is a spiraling down of income that's caused by reliance on healthcare fair market value. That's because, in essence, valuation experts look at published studies to determine what fair market value compensation is, the ranges of compensation. Then, to be safe, in other words, to protect themselves and their clients in the event that someone comes and says that valuation was high, they generally do not opine at complete high-end fair market value pursuant to these national surveys. Instead, they opine somewhere around the 70th to 75th percentile. When they do that, they in essence create a new ceiling, a new 99th percentile, so that several years later, when it's time to renew an employment agreement or a subcontract, a fair market value survey will result in an opinion which is 70% of the new number, which is at the maximum 70% of what compensation used to be. So in other words, it's a spiraling downward in compensation. Now, there's no one solution here for every medical group or for every physician. But at the same time, there is tremendous opportunity. There's opportunity in terms of how to cut deals with paraprofessionals that could never be cut before. There's opportunity in connection with alignment for some groups in terms of realizing value through the sale of a practice that you would have never considered viable before. There's also the notion of sales to national groups that would have never been considered before. And there are ways to deal with the issue of compensation, of reimbursement, to find alternative sources of income, alternative ways of packaging information, the intellectual capital that your group has already, different ways of selling that. So while all of these are creating fear and they're creating uncertainty, there is a way out. The issue is, what's the right way out for your group? Find it. You'll be out of fear on this, and you'll be on your way to realizing that there is an upside, an opportunity to this crisis. Why don't you seize it? For complimentary resources, including articles and our monthly newsletter, the Advisory e-Alert, visit advisorylawgroup.com.